And even though they are bringing Hugh Jackman back for Deadpool 3, which they also mentioned that it's going to take place before Logan, I still think Logan is a very satisfying conclusion for the Wolverine character. Boy, was I wrong there. Since I wore a Wolverine shirt in my non-spoiler review, I thought it'd be fun to just wear a Deadpool t-shirt for this video, just to make it more appropriate, where one video has the Wolverine shirt and the other has a Deadpool shirt. So if you guys have seen my non-spoiler review for Deadpool and Wolverine, then you already know that I had a lot of fun watching the film. Not without flaws, for sure, but it is still a blast in the theater. And in that video, I also said that there were some things in the film that I couldn't talk about because they related to spoilers, and one of them is the opening scene of the film, where Deadpool literally digs up Wolverine's adamantium corpse from Logan and uses its skeleton parts to kill these TVA agents, where they literally play NSYNC in this film with their Bye 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 song, and a lot of people wouldn't like that, and in fact I'm pretty sure a lot of people didn't like that, because they thought that that would dishonor Hugh Jackman's Wolverine's memory with this moment that they're doing for this film. While I do understand that as an issue, but when I was seeing that in the theater, I just couldn't help but laugh because of the way they did it. It definitely sets up the dark humor for the film very well, and for a movie like this, were people really expecting someone like Deadpool to honor the Logan film? I mean, if they were, then they probably should have known better, because Deadpool is not the honoring type. Which, let's talk about Wolverine for a minute. Obviously, this is not the Wolverine from the X-Men films or Logan. This is a completely different version of Logan, a variant from a different universe. And this Wolverine unfortunately failed to save his X-Men, and he feels terrible about it, and he wears his yellow and blue suit to honor them. And that definitely elevates some of the emotion that this film has. That definitely works for the film, and it works for the Wolverine character, and for Deadpool as well, because he's going through issues with his life as well, because he's going through a new leaf, he's got a new job with Peter, and he unfortunately broke up with Vanessa, which we'll talk more about that later. And when we see Deadpool trying to find a different Wolverine, we see him run into other versions of Wolverine, like a shorter version of Wolverine that's actually comic book accurate. He runs into a Wolverine with long hair. He runs into a Wolverine that's up on a giant X that looks like a crucifix. He runs into a Wolverine in a comic book accurate suit that's yellow and brown, and he's fighting the Hulk, a Wolverine with an eye patch and tuxedo on, as well as running into a Wolverine that is played by Henry Cavill, which was very unexpected. And when he eventually finds the right Wolverine and finds out that his X-Men are dead and he failed to save him, he thinks that that Wolverine is perfect, and sees that he's wearing the famous yellow and blue suit from the comics, which people have been waiting for 20 years to see, as Deadpool says. But unfortunately, both of them get pruned to the void after Deadpool finds out that Mr. Paradox, played by Matthew McFadden, is letting Deadpool's universe slowly die, because the Wolverine from Logan died in the end of his film, and that kind of caused Deadpool's universe to slowly die. And that makes Deadpool mad and realizes that he really needs Wolverine's help to fix it and make sure that his universe doesn't go away. And when both Deadpool and Wolverine get to the void, they have a fight with each other with a giant 20th Century Fox sign buried behind them. And after that fight, that's when the whole big cameo fest starts to happen, with one character that I was actually pretty excited to see, because it's a special character, or more like a request I've been wanting the MCU to do ever since they announced the multiverse was happening. And one of the characters I was hoping to see in this film was gonna be played by Chris Evans, but not as Captain America. Instead, as the Human Torch from the Tim Story Fantastic Four films. And we did get him in this film. He is once again playing as Johnny Storm from those films. And seeing him flame on and prove that he's in this film made me so happy to see. Because in regards to the two Tim Story Fantastic Four films, I thought he was one of the more better parts of those films. And I'm not saying that because of nostalgia, but he actually brings more energy and charisma to both of those films. Obviously, I like him more as Captain America, but he still showed some energy in both of those films. And it's kind of a cool and fun way of showing how things were originally when Chris Evans started to play Marvel characters, because he started out as Johnny Storm in the Fantastic Four films, then dropped out of that franchise and became Captain America. And it's honestly great seeing him play the character in this film again, even though later in the film, Deadpool does kind of get him into trouble, which causes Cassandra Nova to take his skin off, killing him. Which that was the start for some of the Marvel cameos, mostly some of the ones from Fox. And we get a lot of other X-Men characters as well, which if you're not familiar with any of the X-Men villains from the X-Men films, if you haven't seen them, then you might not be able to get who these villains are. But if you have seen a lot of those films and you know who these villains are, then you might have fun seeing a lot of them, like Sabretooth, Lady Deathstrike, Azazel, Psylocke, Toad, and the Juggernaut. And we also see Pyro in this film, who is working for Cassandra but is also working behind her back with Paradox, just so that Paradox can figure out a way to kill her. And when we meet Cassandra Nova, we find out that she's Charles Xavier's sister from another universe, and she can heal herself, drag people into the dirt, pull off Johnny Storm's skin, and read people's memories by just putting her fingers through their heads. Which a lot of the stuff I just said does have potential for her to be a very intimidating villain, but emotionally it doesn't do much with her as a character. It really doesn't show more of why she's doing what she's doing. And we also find out that Deadpool has been wanting Wolverine to help him save his universe, because he promises Wolverine that he would help fix his universe because he failed to save his X-Men. But we later find out that Deadpool was lying the entire time, which gets Wolverine really upset, and that leads to both of them in a fight scene in the car. It's a very fun and brutal fight scene where they even have Grease playing in the radio, which that was very funny when they decided to choose this one song, You're the One I Want, for this scene. Then we get 4 more cameos, and these ones I was very excited to see. One of them is Elektra, played by Jennifer Garner, who played her in the Ben Affleck Daredevil film and in her own film as well. But the one character that I was very happy to see on the screen besides Chris Evans is Wesley Snipes as Blade, who is once again awesome as the character, because that's one of those casting choices for a comic book film that is just perfect. And he even has a line later in the film that is pretty fun to hear. He says, "There's only one Blade, and there's only gonna ever be one Blade." And then Deadpool looks at the camera and is like, which means we are still gonna see Mahershala Ali play Blade later in the MCU, which that film is going through some issues with, and that's just a long story. I mean, if you want to know, you can look it up, even though a lot of people do know the problems with that Blade film. And then next up, our third cameo for this scene is Channing Tatum as Gambit, which that was actually cool to see him finally play the character, which, in case of you don't know, in the 2010s, Channing Tatum was trying to make a Gambit movie at one point, but the plans just kept falling through. So it's actually cool to see him finally play the character that he's been trying to play for years. And our fourth cameo for this scene is Daphne Keane returning as Laura from Logan, and that was actually pretty cool seeing her back for this film, because she's one of the coolest characters from that film, and I was wondering if they were gonna do more with her or not. Which we also later get a very nice and heartfelt scene where both her and Logan, who is not the Logan that she used to know, try to bond bond with each other, where she tells him that she finally had a life after the events that she went through, and she tells him that he did a good job trying to take care of her, and it's supposed to be a very nice scene, even though that's just not the real Logan that she's talking to, which also brings more of the emotion and heart for the film, because Logan has been through a lot, at least this Logan, and he hasn't really had so much good stuff in his life. But when he gets this kind of talk from this girl who was his daughter in another universe, that does bring a little bit of light to his life. Now, like I said in my non-spoiler review, one of my issues with this film is the story being basic, where it's just the main heroes have to team up and save a world before it gets destroyed. You know, the usual stuff we see in other superhero films. But I get why that's there for emotional reasons, because that world has people that he cares about, like Colossus and Peter and his ex-girlfriend Vanessa. But I would have done something else with that part of the story, and I was hoping that Deadpool would make fun of that usual problem with superhero films, but he doesn't. I think maybe he would have had one moment to poke fun at that. That would have made the story worth it. Which, now let's talk about Deadpool's relationship with Vanessa and how that fell apart, because they went through some issues in the past after the events in the end of Deadpool 2, which causes both of them to sadly break up, and that puts Deadpool in a very sad mood where he's trying to move on and do something new with his life, and he's trying to think of a way to fix his relationship and work something out. I get that that's supposed to be the big part of the film, but I just wish it also wasn't like the usual stuff we see in other films like this. And then when both Deadpool and Wolverine do end up in Wayne's World, sorry, wrong movie. They find out that Cassandra is in this universe too and is getting ready to destroy everything in Deadpool's world, while Paradox is also trying to figure out how to get rid of her, because he doesn't want her to destroy everything, because she will destroy a lot of things that he is trying to do himself for the TVA, and things go pretty bad for him, like a lady pool who is actually voiced by Blake Lively, a cowboy Deadpool voiced by Matthew McConaughey, a skeleton Deadpool voiced by Nathan Fillion, a kid pool, and a baby pool. And of course we get Nice Pool as well, with his dog pool, or as he likes to call him, Mary Poppins. And when both Deadpool and Wolverine are about to fight all these variants, Wolverine finally puts on his cowl, making him look more comic book accurate. And then eventually both Deadpool and Wolverine defeat Cassandra, foil her plans of course, and also foil Paradox's plans, because he gets in trouble by the TVA, and both Deadpool and Wolverine are now eating shawarma just like the Avengers did. And then we also see that Laura is in Deadpool's universe too, while she's trying to bond with this Wolverine. But I'm also wondering, where are Blade and Elektra and Gambit? Are they still in the Void? Get them out of the Void. Did something happen to them while they're in there? I mean, regardless, it was still awesome seeing the three of them on screen. And after the movie ends, we get a mid-credit scene where it's a full tribute of all of the Fox Marvel films, like the X-Men films, Logan, the Deadpool films, the Fantastic Four films by Tim Story and Fantastic, and some of the other weaker films like Origins, Dark Phoenix, and so on. And that was a nice tribute that they did for this film, and regardless if you like those films or not, they still impacted a lot of people with nostalgia, even if some of those films aren't as good as others. And that was a pretty cool way to pay tribute to Fox, even though this movie does poke fun at Fox, like in one scene when Deadpool holds the camera and is like, "Screw you, Fox, I'm with Marvel now." Pow! While it's a more respectful type of poking fun at for Fox, while also paying tribute to them. And our credits scene is Deadpool showing a video proving that Johnny did say all of that terrible stuff about Cassandra right before Cassandra killed him, where we see the whole video of Chris Evans as Johnny Storm just unloading on all this trash talk about Cassandra, which that was a very fun credit scene, and a tribute video from earlier was also a nice thing they did. Deadpool and Wolverine may not be a perfect perfect movie. It does have some issues like I already mentioned, but it was still one of those films I had a lot of fun in the theater, and I just couldn't help but smile while watching it. So guys, if you have seen Deadpool and Wolverine, what are your favorite moments in the film, and what are your favorite cameos in the film? Let me know what they are in the comments below. And since I am kind of in a Marvel mood, I am gonna let you know that my next classic movie review is gonna be a Marvel film. I'm not gonna say what it is, I'm just gonna say it's a Marvel film, and that's it. Look forward to that. And as always, if you like this video, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss a thing, because helps my channel grow. Hit the notification bell so you know what other videos I'm posting. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.